So let's jump to this story and we'll get into it. We got this from Reuters. Annual pro-gun event at Virginia fizzles in wake of U.S. Capitol siege. They say only a few dozen gun rights activists converge in the Virginia State Capitol on Monday for an annual demonstration that typically draws thousands, with this year's protests dampened by tensions in the wake of the January 6th siege in the Capitol. Now, I'm not entirely sure they're right about this. Sometimes what happens with these news stories when they talk about these events, this was published at 6:15 a.m., but we actually have this tweet from Ryan Devereaux from 5:37 p.m., where you can clearly see there's Black Panthers out there, there's Proud Boys, and there's Boogaloo Boys. And the interesting thing about it is, Ryan Devereaux tweets, heard a 20-year-old Boogaloo boy call a passing group of Proud Boys, quote, boot-licking statist cucks. The Proud Boys dismissed the Boog as anarchists. The original Black Panther Party just seemed happy to be there. So I guess, look, I don't know if it's the same event. Maybe it must be different. I thought it was the same event, so maybe I'm wrong about that. But there were still people coming out and protesting in various areas. What I find interesting about this story is just how the Boogaloo Boys are an entity unto themselves. They're basically just anarchists, so or libertarian types,
and growing in popularity too. You know, there's more and more people who are starting to identify with that. But let's just throw the whole government out.
But you know, it's because, I mean, do you know anybody who's happy with government right now?
No, and
right?
for good reason. I mean, you can't blame these people for being frustrated. Now, I might not agree with the Hawaiian shirts and all that.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, we're rapidly approaching that point where the whole system is just broken. Like, we're just gonna have to throw the whole thing out. You know, like it's.
Thomas Jefferson, was he the one who said every 200 years you've got to purge and recycle or whatever?
Huh. Well, this group is definitely interesting because it's hard to kind of nail them down. Just a few months ago, the mainstream media was talking about them being right-wing extremists, but they are hypercritical of Donald Trump. They are hypercritical of government officials. We saw in one particular state, one of the Boogaloo Boys had a trans flag. Another person stood next to and was with a Black Lives Matter person, and it looked like they were all together. But another thing we really have to understand here, a lot of this is overhyped by the mainstream media, because if you remember just a few days ago, we were hearing news reports, FBI warnings, total fear-mongering, paranoia, massive armed rallies happening this weekend all throughout the United States at all the major capitals, and what did we get?
Crickets.
No, like 3 guys, 5 guys standing around, 5 guys in New Hampshire, a couple guys in Virginia, and now we had another rally today in Virginia that was separate.
Out of shape guys.
Well, some of them are out of shape. Some of them are, just look like they.
They have shapes. They're just not. Very
yeah. But today in Virginia, we saw the biggest rally, and we saw a bunch of groups, bunch of individuals, and this was the biggest one. But again, everything was very peaceful. Everything was very calm. They came armed. No one got shot. No one got hurt. Thank goodness for that. And it's the opposite of everything that we've been hearing on the mainstream media about how there's a bloodbath coming, and there's still fear mongering about this at the U.S. Capitol. That literally. I don't know why no one's talking about this, but it looks like the Washington, D.C. is literally under occupation right now, and no one's trying to even talk about green zones and police checkpoints and what in the world is happening in the center of the United States.
25,000 National Guard.
Interesting number. That's 10 times the amount of troops that we have in Iraq. Yeah. I read that today. We have about 2,500 to 3,000 in Iraq.
We have more troops.
We have 25,000, and they're asking for 30.
Why?
And hundreds of NYPD officers literally went down today to add more security and assistance. Yes, NYPD sent out
from who? The Boogaloo Boys?
Exactly. Well, this is the thing. There's so much. This is what I did a video on today, specifically on the We Are Change channel, about this active national security fear paranoia state that is absolutely ridiculous. And when you see the mainstream media coverage, it looks like there's going to be a huge conflict. But the only thing I'm seeing is people saying, "Hey, stay home, stay away from this. There might be a potential for a false flag. Get away from there. Don't go there." But we're still being told by the mainstream media that there's going to be hell to pay. Those 25,000 National Guardsmen all are being vetted to make sure that they don't support Donald Trump too much.
Loyalty tests.
Yeah. They're literally doing loyalty tests right now.
There were some reports that the Democrats wanted to make sure that any of the National Guard who voted for Trump, they'd vet or remove.
Weren't there?
I don't know how true that is. I've seen this.
No. This originally came out from a congressman demanding this, and now Schumer and Pelosi officially came out saying we want the DOD to vet everyone there, and we have the acting defense security chief coming out and saying there's no threat of an insider attack like we've been hearing on the mainstream media again.
But I mean specifically, like, are the Democrats saying we want to know who voted for Trump, or are they saying we want security assessments? Because I heard reports that they were concerned about National Guardsmen who voted Trump as the starting point to actually look into their backgrounds.
Yes, and that Nancy Pelosi came out and I think said that. And then they also requested, and I don't know if it ever went through, but I know that somebody from Congress requested that, and I think it was Nancy Pelosi as well, that they be unarmed.
Yeah, I think I heard that.
A lot of them have been unarmed.
So,
There's a lot of photos
wait.
of them without magazines in their rifles.
So yeah, you're right. They wanted to disarm them, which is interesting. Who armed them in the first place?
Yeah, but
this is
what do you need 25,000 unarmed troops
and who
for?
sent them there?
No, but this is weird. Why are there 25,000 soldiers in D.C. anyway? Who put them there? Was it the Democrats? Nancy Pelosi is saying we're worried about this, vet them, and disarm them. I don't think she's the one who put them there. I don't think the Democrats are the one who demanded 25,000. Is this Trump?
Well, there's the way I heard it explained. The way I heard it explained is just another vague term saying these were federally mandated soldiers that were sent there by the federal government. That's the vaguest language.
Something's up.
So that would be commander in chief then.
There was some retired general said we haven't had this much security since Abraham Lincoln. So someone did this.
But it just,
and my understanding is that it's the acting Secretary of Defense who deploys the federal National Guard in the D.C. in the federal jurisdiction, and he's a Trump guy. So is Trump the one who's like, send all of the troops,
like
give
to
them
troll
all
them?
I don't know, man, because the conspiracy theories are going crazy on both the left and the right. The right is saying that Trump has created a prison that the Democrats will have to walk into in order to inaugurate Biden, and the left is saying
because they're that stupid.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. But that's the conspiracy theory. But the left has basically the same conspiracy theory that Donald Trump is gonna box the Democrat. It's they believe very much similar
It's
things.
almost like one person's making both of them up and just sending them through the message board and stuff.
One side's going, Donald Trump's gonna do it, hooray! The other side's going, then he goes to the left and goes, Donald Trump's gonna do it, oh no!
This is from the Babylon Bee, not news guarded. It's a satire website. Most popular president in history to be inaugurated in secret behind giant wall guarded by thousands of soldiers.
Yes.
Which, as fake as that is, it's not fake.
It's also true by the numbers.
Well,
I mean, he got the most votes of any president.
Well, another thing to really consider here is that before the raid on the Capitol, we had warnings from the FBI, the NYPD, the Capitol Police that something major was going to happen at the Capitol. And then what happened? They were mainly unprepared. Now we're getting no specific warnings. The acting defense secretary said there's no intelligence of any upcoming attack or threat,
and
but yet they're over-prepared. That's government.
There's a conspiracy theory.
Too little, too late. Or too much, too late.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
This is the ongoing conspiracy theory. Let me just start by saying, dude, like January 20th is going to come and go. I really don't see anything happening. I'll admit this is all very weird stuff. We are well outside the confines of what's considered normal. But the conspiracy theory right now is that Donald Trump needed an excuse to mobilize the National Guard in D.C. in an unprecedented manner. And if he just did this, the Democrats would scream he's staging a coup. Trump deploying 25,000 fully armed with authorization for use of lethal force into D.C. For no reason, the Democrats would be like, this is insane, Trump staging a coup. But what happened was Trump supporters stormed into the Capitol. The Democrats demanded security and were shocked. So then Trump went, okay, and got his 25,000. I don't believe it's on purpose. This is the current iteration of the conspiracy, and these Q people are posting online saying, just you wait and see. Trump's gonna do something. Trump's not gonna do anything. Nothing's gonna happen. Biden's gonna be president.
4 years of let's wait and see.
Right.
Any day now, the shoes.
But that's their current conspiracy. I will say, it's easy to understand why they believe it. Because it is really
none of it makes any sense.
Right. It's really strange what's going on.
It's like a James Bond movie.
So some other people have been posting that they think it's just the Democrats an excuse. It's the establishment saying, "Oh no, look what we had to do because of Trump supporters.
Give us more funding."
And we needed to, because what would have happened if they weren't there? More money, more security, more spying, etc.
You know what it looks like to me, like the start of a police state where there's a constant level of fear, like you were just talking about in the media, where there's always some impending doom upon you. So you have to listen to what the government says. Yeah, there's always some restriction on movement. There's always some looming threat that you have to be defended against. And what a way to kick off 4 years of that with 25,000 troops in the nation's capital in an unprecedented rollout of military force during an inauguration where nobody is going to show up.
You know, I've mentioned this a million times, so for those that are listening, forgive me, but I want to say it for you, Ian, because we never talked about it, that what people don't realize when it comes to staging a coup, they imagine it'll be like a movie where there's going to be like Trump going, order the troops to stop Biden, make me president, and the troops just listen. When in reality, a coup actually looks very simple. It's not that the soldiers have any idea what's going on. It would just be their commanding officer or the Pentagon saying, hey, go surround the White House, lock it down, there's some security threats, and then they would. If Donald Trump wanted to stage a military coup and use the military to seize power and stop the inauguration, they wouldn't tell the National Guard to do that. They would tell them, stand here and don't let anyone pass. That's it. So I think if there was a real potential for a coup, it would look exactly like this. Exactly. The soldiers just being like, I don't know, I was told to stand here.
Yep, you're not wrong. And a lot of the soldiers that are being interviewed, they're asked, what are you doing here? What are you protecting? And according to Michael Tracy and the reporting he's doing down there, he's like, well, one of them just told me, I don't know, I'm just doing what I'm told. Wow, and that's what a lot of the officers are doing. Yeah. There's a meme going around that I tweeted right now that I think hits the nail on the head with our conversation here, and it shows all the troops sleeping together in the Capitol, not social distancing, and the headline is, if 25,000 troops can do this, you can do this, and below it is a picture of 4 people having a nice meal at a restaurant. So I think that's another thing that people really need to kind of understand here. If we're going through this huge pandemic, we're going through this huge health scare, why is the government punishing you for trying to be in a gym or in a restaurant? Meanwhile, there's so many troops
sleeping on a marble
floor.
Why would the government risk the National Guard during a pandemic?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. You want to protect the elderly, right? Well, the National Guard is one of our first lines of defense. Cramming them all in the Capitol building, sleeping on top of each other. It doesn't
if
quite
the Capitol
make
was
sense,
attacked from the air by a foreign nation on the inauguration day, they're all there. That's
my
crazy.
partner brought that up today. It's a very good point. Why would you put that many people in harm's way? If you're so afraid of this looming threat, why would you put such a massive forces in harm's way?
They're using them like a fence to keep the water out, to keep the flood out, or they're trying to build a wall of humans to protect.
But we're in a drought.
It's because the elites use your children as cannon fodder. Or sandbags in this scenario, I guess.
Like they're probably going to put them on every street and every block corner, and that's why there's so many of them to protect every street.
Well, they have authorization for use of lethal force. Yeah. Why?
Wait, with what though?
It's the fear. They have guns. They're really afraid.
They're full kitted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of them had their guns and magazines.
Right. Pelosi was like,
magazines and bullets
take the magazines out and take them away.
Okay, but some are still armed. Or
they last I checked, they were fully kitted.
Okay.
They were given authorization for use of lethal force, and the Democrats were like, nah, we don't want them to have guns like this. So I don't know exactly where we're at right now, but why was that ever a thing?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Another thing to consider is if you're in the military, your commanding officers and your politicians don't give a damn about you. And if they tell you to sleep on the marble floor surrounded by hundreds of people during a pandemic, you're going to do it because you're going to do what you're told. And I think I just saw today that finally there was some cots delivered. But most of them are still sleeping and using the few limited restrooms inside of the Capitol building. I mean, imagine being a soldier and just like, yep, you're going to be inside the Capitol for what? This paranoia, this fear that's again, totally made up, not a real security threat. When they had the security threats, they didn't listen to them. Now there's no security threats, according to them officially, but yet we're still going through this huge security theater in order to, I think it's a larger virtual signal for the bigger police state that they're trying to boast about in everyone's face.
So here's a story from the 14th. National Guard at Capitol authorized to use lethal force in aftermath of mob. They say on January 12, 2021, National Guardsmen were given authorization to be armed in support of the U.S. Capitol to protect the U.S. Capitol and individual members of Congress and their staff. According to a statement from the D.C. Guard, they go on to say, a defense official confirmed the authorization includes permission for guard troops to use lethal force. So there's pictures of them carrying their guns. And I believe the National Guard, they have full auto, don't they? Don't they have selective fire?
Yeah, of course.
I'm just kind of weirded out by the whole thing, man.
We're all going to be watching, or we're all supposed to be watching this inauguration, and you're going to see this military-style inauguration, this police state, totalitarian. Like, it screams Orwell. I mean, it's
all of them.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very peculiar. And the crazy part is the media just ratchets the fear. We get no explanation as to why. The only information that we get are from the few journalists who actually put some good stuff out. But it's just be afraid and shut up.
The mainstream media showing no apprehension against an actual police state, an actual lockdown, an actual checkpoint set up, green zone set up, the militarization of the cities of the entire country's capital, and yet no muckraking, no real journalism, no pushback,
no
questions about it at all. That's another thing that has you thinking, because they were warning, they were screaming about fascism, about totalitarianism coming under Donald Trump. But now it's coming in, as it looks, very symbolically under Joe Biden, right in front of our face, and they're marching around, locking everything down. The barbed wire set up like they're literally about to face a horde of zombies. It's like watching DayZ happening right now. It's like that's what they're preparing for. I don't know. Maybe there's something else happening that we don't know about.
I don't think so.
But I think this is a larger
neither do I.
virtue signal. I think this is them saying, look at us, look how powerful we are. Don't mess with us, because we have all these police officers, all these National Guard that will do whatever we tell them to do, and they will back us, and you can't fight us because of look how many soldiers we have behind us. I think that's what's happening.
The perfect follow-up to the Capitol, which is like, they had this little incident at the Capitol that they've blown hugely out of proportion based on a lot of half-truths and misinformation. And then now they turn around a couple weeks later and say, try it again.
It's like you tickle the nose of the dragon and the whole body goes flailing. Like, they went in and they got the Congress people. Like, AOC said she was afraid for her life. I think
she said she narrowly escaped death.
Yeah, so they're twisted with fear right now.
Yes. Did you see the video of the shaman walking into the Senate chambers
with the mall cop behind him?
Yep. And there's a guy sitting down on the phone. And the shaman guy goes like, "Hey man, good to see you." He's like, "Oh, that guy's bleeding." And then the cop's like, "Do you need medical attention?" He goes, "I'm fine." And then the mall cop guy goes, "Any chance I could get you guys to leave?" And they were like, "We're leaving." And the one guy goes, "Don't worry, man. I'm making sure nobody messes with anything." He's like, "All right, thanks, because this is like the most sacred place." And they're like, "We got you, man." That, like, an insurrection of a bunch of like just dumb people standing around.
It's like a tour.
Look, I get it. Storming the Capitol was dumb, but you saw the videos of the cops letting people in.
Oh yeah, I mean it was all over. Where it was basically a guided tour.
Yeah,
a lot of the cops. There's one video where the cops like disagree with it, but agree with your right to protest.
Yeah,
they walk right past them. He lets them in.
There was a 0% chance of insurrection. There was a 0% chance of them being able to overturn the government. So calling it a coup d'état is absolutely disingenuous, and it's an absolute lie.
I love how they're trying to act like there's ever a possibility that occupying a building would overthrow the government. Like it's not 1600s anymore. You know what I mean? Like they storm the vault. They control the government papers. Now they're the government.
But
no,
that's
not how it works.
Congress people were in that building, as far as I know. So if they had wanted to go in there and destroy those people, they probably could have.
And that still wouldn't change anything.
Well,
so there's the line of succession. And then, look, if God forbid they actually did horrible things to members of Congress, it would. They're not going to. It would just be indictments. There would be charges of sedition.
But it's never happened like where a bunch of Congress people were killed in a day in a riot in the United States. That's never happened.
But what I'm saying is that there was no scenario where this was an insurrection. Okay, I mean, well, hold on. I guess maybe you could call it that if it was like the I don't know.
It's a major stretch.
Well, look,
I don't think that was their intention.
Attempted insurrection, maybe, but there was never a possibility it would do anything. There's zero possibility the government was anywhere in danger of being overthrown, period.
Yeah, Trump has no institutional power. Mike Pence was even against him. So when we're talking about the chances here, let's be real here. Let's be honest. Yes, there's some bad actors. Yes, there were some violent people. Let's call it out, however you may want to call it out. But when we're looking at everything, this is just security theater in a hyperbolic response to it that is definitely disproportionate, to say the least, from my own personal opinion.
The question is, who sent the armed guards there? The Democrats do it because they genuinely believe it's a threat, or they want the optics? Well, they seem to be kind of upset by it. And the National Guard follows the orders of Trump for now. There's 2 more days. Actually, I think we got about day and a half, maybe.
Ooh, start the countdown.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Many
So-
many media organizations have.
They have a clock.
literally
Yeah.
have countdowns and
God.
counter.
Can we get one?
Just before even coming on the show, I saw a friend that was flying into D.C. and she talked about how after coming out of the TSA, she had to go through 2 other personal screenings. They looked through all of her personal possessions in her bags, and there was police officers literally at the gate watching everyone come in. So the security for even flying into Washington, D.C. is absolutely, utterly ridiculous. So, again, no threat as so far that we know of that's legitimate. So what is going on here?
Well, so we have the countdown. We have it right here. It's a Daily Mail right on top. 38 hours, 54 minutes. Now 53 minutes.
Yeah.
And we also have this story. Biden blocks Trump's bid to lift ban on visitors from the UK, Brazil, and Europe and says he will strengthen travel restrictions, dashing hopes of millions who haven't been able to fly to the U.S. since March. All those people who voted for Biden thinking they were going to get something good out of this, it's not going to happen. It's only going to be worse under Joe Biden.
Maybe not totally. I think he's going to diminish student loan debt. At least he says he's going to.
There's no diminishing
10,000?
student loan debt. They're
passing it
stealing.
off, passing it off,
They're
yeah.
stealing someone else's money and paying for someone's bad choices and mistakes.
Are they not just not paying back the loan agencies?
They're the
No,
big
it'll come from
banksters, the loan
taxpayer dollars.
agencies
That's gross.
gets their money. The banksters always get their money.
Dude, if they're going to
Yeah.
tax us to pay the loan,
That's exactly-
Yes,
That's
that's
how it
exactly
works.
that's how
No,
government works.
Joe.
Welcome to
There's
America.
no free
do it
money.
different. Don't pay them back, man. That's insidious that they're charging kids interest.
It doesn't work
You
like
have to.
that.
There's
Not in America. It doesn't work like that. Every banker always gets their due.
Yep.
That's the first rule of finance in America.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., so come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.